Welcome back to another Politics, Power, and Policy News Update. The silence is deafening. A humanitarian catastrophe of unprecedented scale is unfolding before our eyes in Gaza. This is not a natural disaster. It is a deliberate man-made famine, a stain on the conscience of humanity. We are witnessing a systematic collapse, a crisis that demands immediate, unequivocal action from every global citizen, every humanitarian, every political leader. The unthinkable has happened. On August 22, 2025, the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, IPC, officially declared Level 5 catastrophic hunger in Gaza City. This is the highest classification, signifying widespread starvation, acute malnutrition, and death. It is a declaration of mass suffering. Over 500,000 Gazans are currently starving, a number projected to surge to 640,000 by September. This isn't just a statistic, it represents 500,000 human beings trapped, desperate, and dying. The declaration confirms what aid agencies have warned for months: Gaza is being starved. This is the first time in modern history that a famine has been declared in the Middle East. It underscores a profound failure of international responsibility and a shocking disregard for human life. The world watches as a population is systematically deprived of its most basic right: food. The IPC report is a stark, undeniable indictment. It details the rapid deterioration of food security, the collapse of livelihoods, and the widespread lack of access to essential resources. This is not a slow decline, it is a precipitous fall into the abyss of mass starvation. The implications are staggering. A famine declaration triggers specific international obligations, yet the response remains tragically inadequate. The global community must recognize the gravity of this moment and the urgent need for a paradigm shift in its approach. This famine is unequivocally man-made. It is the direct consequence of prolonged siege, relentless military operations, and severe restrictions on humanitarian aid. The deliberate obstruction of food, water, and medical supplies has turned Gaza into a death trap. Key UN agencies, FAO, WFP, WHO, UNICEF, have issued dire warnings of mass death without immediate, unimpeded aid. Their pleas have largely gone unheeded. The mechanisms for delivering aid have been systematically dismantled or rendered ineffective. Aid access remains severely restricted, often under the guise of security concerns. Humanitarian corridors are routinely targeted or made impassable. This deliberate strangulation of aid is a violation of international humanitarian law. Just yesterday, 4 civilians were shot dead near a food distribution site in the Netzarim corridor while desperately seeking sustenance. Witnesses report indiscriminate fire. This is not an isolated incident. It is a pattern of violence against those seeking survival. The destruction of essential infrastructure, bakeries, farms, water treatment plants, has crippled Gaza's ability to sustain itself. This systematic targeting of civilian life support systems exacerbates the crisis, pushing more people into the jaws of starvation. Bureaucratic hurdles, arbitrary checkpoints, and prolonged inspection processes further impede the flow of aid. Every delay, every denied truck, every hour wasted translates directly into more suffering and more deaths. This is a calculated strategy of deprivation. The international community's failure to enforce humanitarian access is a complicity that cannot be ignored. The responsibility for this famine lies squarely with those who impose and maintain these restrictions, and with those who fail to act decisively to lift them. The human toll is beyond comprehension. Doctors in Gaza paint a harrowing picture: emaciated bodies, protruding ribs, limp limbs, hallmarks of severe malnutrition. These are not just medical terms, they are descriptions of children, mothers, and fathers wasting away. 8 more people, including innocent children, died of starvation in just one day. This daily death toll is a grim reminder of the escalating crisis. Each death is a preventable tragedy, a life extinguished by a lack of basic necessities. With the offensive intensifying in places like Shajaya and Jabalia, the situation is spiraling out of control. Displaced populations are pushed into ever smaller, overcrowded areas with no access to food, clean water, or sanitation. This creates perfect conditions for disease and further death. The official death toll from malnutrition-related causes stands at 289, including 115 children. This figure is likely a severe undercount, as many deaths go unrecorded amidst the chaos. These are not just numbers, they are lives lost to a preventable horror. Beyond the immediate deaths, the long-term health consequences are devastating. Children who survive will suffer from stunted growth, cognitive impairments, and weakened immune systems. A generation is being permanently scarred by this famine. The psychological trauma is immense. Parents watch their children starve, unable to provide. The constant fear, the gnawing hunger, the loss of dignity, these wounds will last for decades. This is a deliberate assault on the very fabric of society. Every day, more families face the agonizing choice between risking their lives for a morsel of food or succumbing to starvation in relative safety. This is not a choice any human being should ever have to make. The world is watching, and the outrage is growing. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has denounced the crisis as a failure of humanity and a moral indictment. He demands an immediate ceasefire and full, unimpeded humanitarian access. His words echo the sentiments of millions. In Europe, Ireland's Tánaiste Simon Harris is calling for strong EU action, including sanctions and solidarity days. He emphasizes that Israel is in clear breach of its international human rights obligations. This is a crucial recognition of accountability. Even in Hollywood, voices are rising. Actor Mark Ruffalo condemned the man-made famine and called on global leaders to act, sparking widespread social media outrage. Celebrities and public figures are using their platforms to amplify the urgent plea for intervention. Humanitarian organizations worldwide are sounding the alarm. Their resources stretched thin, their access blocked. They are witnessing firsthand the horrors of starvation and are desperate for the international community to provide meaningful support and protection. Political activists globally are mobilizing, demanding an end to the siege and accountability for those responsible. Their protests, petitions, and advocacy efforts are a testament to the growing global conscience that refuses to remain silent. Middle East observers and analysts are highlighting the profound regional instability this crisis is creating. The famine is not just a humanitarian disaster, it is a geopolitical powder keg, threatening to ignite wider conflicts and deepen existing grievances. The international legal framework is clear. Starvation as a method of warfare is a war crime. The deliberate deprivation of food and essential services to a civilian population is a grave breach of international humanitarian law. Accountability must follow. The global outcry is a testament to our shared humanity. It is a collective refusal to accept this atrocity as inevitable. But outrage alone is not enough. It must translate into concrete, decisive action. This is not famine as usual. It is systemic, preventable, and man-made. It is a deliberate act of starvation, a weaponization of hunger against a trapped civilian population. This distinction is critical as it places the responsibility squarely on those who perpetuate it. Yet the international response remains tragically inconsistent. Aid access is limited and devastation continues to spread. The mechanisms designed to prevent such atrocities have failed or have been deliberately circumvented. Without an immediate, permanent ceasefire and the establishment of large-scale, protected humanitarian corridors, this tragedy will worsen exponentially. More innocent lives will be lost, and the scars on humanity will deepen. This crisis tests our collective humanity. It challenges our moral compass and our commitment to international law. Our silence, our inaction, our complicity in this unfolding horror will define us for generations to come. The world cannot afford to look away. The images of starving children, the cries of desperate parents, the systematic destruction of life, these must pierce through the apathy and compel us to act. This is a moment of truth for global governance and human rights. The long-term consequences of this famine will be catastrophic, extending far beyond the immediate death toll. It will breed resentment, instability, and a profound sense of injustice that will echo for decades. If you are watching this, you have a moral imperative to act. This is not a distant problem. It is a global crisis that demands your immediate attention and sustained engagement. Your voice has power. First, speak up. Share reliable sources, educate your networks, and challenge misinformation. Use your social media platforms, engage in conversations, and ensure this crisis remains at the forefront of public consciousness. Silence is complicity. Second, support organizations delivering aid. Reputable humanitarian agencies are on the ground, risking their lives to provide assistance. Donate what you can, volunteer your time, and amplify their calls for support. Every dollar, every effort saves lives. Third, demand a permanent ceasefire. Contact your elected officials, participate in peaceful protests, and sign petitions. Pressure your governments to enforce international law, lift the siege, and ensure unimpeded humanitarian access. Political will can change this. Fourth, advocate for accountability. Demand investigations into war crimes and violations of international humanitarian law. Those responsible for this man-made famine must be held to account. Justice is a prerequisite for lasting peace. This is a crisis that tests our collective humanity. Do not let apathy or despair paralyze you. Your action, however small, contributes to a larger movement for justice and survival. The lives of 500,000 people depend on it. Act now. And until next time, my friends, stay safe and informed.